The year 1914 brought with it a storm that would engulf the world. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo ignited a conflict of unimaginable scale, the First World War, while images of muddy trenches on the Western Front often dominate our understanding of this war. The conflict's reach extended far beyond France and Belgium. From the snow-covered plains of the Eastern Front to the scorching deserts of the Middle East, millions fought in theaters less familiar but no less brutal. This essay delves into these lesser-known fronts, shedding light on the struggles and strategies unique to each theater. We will explore the Eastern Front's massive scale, the Italian Front's mountainous terrain, and the Middle East's strategic importance. By understanding these diverse theaters, we gain a more complete picture of the Great War, the sacrifices made and the lessons learned in these forgotten corners of the conflict continue to resonate a century later. The war was a global tragedy, leaving an indelible mark on the 20th century and beyond. The Eastern Front was a stark contrast to the static trench lines of the West. Here, vast distances and limited infrastructure dictated a different kind of war. Spanning from the Baltic Sea in the north to the Black Sea in the south, this front witnessed empires clashing across a sprawling landscape. Russia, on one side, faced the combined might of Germany and Austria-Hungary. The sheer size of the Eastern Front made trench warfare impractical. Instead, the conflict was characterized by greater mobility and sweeping movements of troops. The early months of the war saw catastrophic defeats for the Russians. At the Battle of Tannenberg in August 1914, German forces, under the command of Generals Hindenburg and Ludendorff, encircled and destroyed the Russian Second Army. This decisive victory established Germany's military superiority in the east. The Battle of the Masurian Lakes followed in September, resulting in another crushing Russian defeat. These early victories had a profound impact on the morale of both sides. For Germany, it bolstered their confidence, while for Russia, it exposed the weaknesses of their army and leadership. Despite numerous setbacks, the Russians showed moments of resilience. In 1916, General Alexei Brusilov launched a surprise offensive against the Austro-Hungarian lines. This offensive, named after its architect, achieved remarkable initial success. Brusilov's forces advanced deep into enemy territory, inflicting heavy casualties and capturing hundreds of thousands of prisoners. Although ultimately stalled, the offensive relieved pressure on the Western Front, forcing the Germans to divert troops eastward. Brusilov's offensive, although ultimately unsuccessful, demonstrated the potential for Russian military success. While the Eastern Front raged, another theatre of war opened in the south. In 1915, Italy joined the Allied side, declaring war on Austria-Hungary. The Italian front, characterized by its mountainous terrain, presented unique challenges for the armies involved. The Alps became a battleground, with soldiers fighting at high altitudes in harsh weather conditions. The terrain favored the defender, making offensives costly and often futile. Section 6, the White War fighting on the roof of the world. The Italian front witnessed some of the most harrowing fighting of the war. The battles fought in the high peaks of the Alps became known as the White War. Soldiers battled not only each other, but also the extreme cold, avalanches and frostbite. The use of Alpine troops, specialized in mountain warfare, became crucial. Cable cars transported supplies and men up steep slopes, while artillery guns were positioned on mountaintops to bombard enemy positions. The White War exacted a heavy toll on both sides, with tens of thousands perishing in this unforgiving environment. Section 7, Lawrence of Arabia and the Theatre of Deserts. Far from the mud of France and the snow of the Alps, another front emerged in the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire's entry into the war on the side of the Central Powers opened up a new theatre of operations. This front was characterized by vast deserts, scorching heat, and limited access to water. The British, seeking to undermine the Ottoman Empire, supported Arab revolts against Ottoman rule. One of the most iconic figures of this theatre was T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence, a British officer, played a key role in organizing and leading Arab forces against the Ottomans. Section 8. The Siege of Kut, a Mesopotamian Tragedy. The Mesopotamian campaign, primarily fought between British and Ottoman forces, was marked by logistical challenges and costly defeats. The Siege of Kut, which began in late 1915, exemplified the difficulties of fighting in this harsh environment. A British force, besieged in the town of Kut al-Amara by Ottoman troops, endured months of bombardment and starvation. Relief attempts failed, and the British garrison was forced to surrender in April 1916. Section 9. Beyond the Trenches, a Lasting Impact. The lesser-known battles of World War I, fought away from the Western Front, played a crucial role in shaping the conflict's outcome. These fronts tied down enemy troops, diverted resources, and influenced the war's overall strategic balance. The Eastern Front, with its massive scale and mobile warfare, consumed vast quantities of manpower and resources. The Italian Front, though often stalemated, pinned down Austro-Hungarian troops and ultimately contributed to Austria-Hungary's collapse. The Middle Eastern theatre, with its strategic importance and the promise of Arab independence, further complicated the Allied war effort. While often overshadowed by the Western Front, these theatres were no less significant. They remind us that World War I was a truly global conflict, with lasting consequences for the entire 20th century.